Hello, and welcome back to the Librarian of the Rings. My name is Ben, I'm the Librarian, and today we're going to be talking about the Children of Húrin. Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing the Children of Húrin, which of course is written by J.R.R. Tolkien and edited by his son Christopher Tolkien because it was published after his death. In fact, it wasn't published until 2007, so we're talking very, very many years after his death. Christopher took a long time putting this together from his father's notes. Now, I listened to the audiobook, which is read by Sir Christopher Lee, and also I got this hard copy, which is illustrated by Alan Lee. First off, I'm just going to say that there's going to be some minor spoilers in this review. It's really not possible for me to review a book like this without having some but since a version of this story was published in the Silmarillion, so I'm guessing that the main plot points of this story are known to most of us, if not to all of us.
As I take it, well known to us? All of us?
First off, I just want to say this is a great book. It's really wonderful. This is one of Tolkien's most epic tales, but it's also his most tragic. And so you should just know going into it that you are reading a tragedy if you're going to get started reading it. It is a sad, sad story.
It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end.
Thinking about it in relation to the Silmarillion contains this story in about 35 pages, whereas this book is well over 200 pages of actual story content. And so you're going to have a greatly expanded view of the characters and an understanding of events that is of course going to lead to even more sorrow at the really tragic parts that happen in this story. So if you're wondering what exactly this book is about, if you haven't read the Silmarillion or if it's been a while, then you just need to know that this book is exactly what it says in the title. It is the story of the Children of Húrin. So who is Húrin? Well, Húrin is actually one of the great human heroes of the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, also known as the Nirnaeth Arnordiad. He and his brother are really critical in that battle, even though that battle ends up getting lost. But Húrin is actually captured by Morgoth, the great enemy, at the end of that battle. And Morgoth subsequently curses him and his family. And that's what kind of leads to the great tragedies that you read about in this book with Húrin's children. So Húrin doesn't die, but he is separated from his family. Húrin has 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters, but this book primarily focuses in on the adventures that befall his son Turin, although it does also deal with the story of Húrin's daughters as well. So knowing that, I just want to give you a little bit of my experience listening to it. So I think Sir Christopher Lee does a fantastic job. Of course, he is best known in the Lord of the Rings community for playing Saruman in the Jackson trilogy, but he was an actor of many, many different abilities, and he does a fantastic job reading this audiobook. Now, this book was recorded in 2007, and so the audio qualities might not be quite up to the standard that we're used to today because that was quite a while ago. So the audio quality was not perfect on that, but it was worth it to be able to listen to him read this book. And I just found listening to it to be very easy. This is a story that flows quite well because of the way that Christopher Tolkien has edited it. Speaking of Christopher Tolkien in the audio version, he actually reads the introduction himself. And so you get to hear Christopher Tolkien's voice, which is always good. And of course, now that he's gone, we won't be getting any more of that. And so it's just kind of a nice benefit to the audiobook to get to hear Christopher Tolkien read that introduction. But the hard copy is also really nice as well. I was able to get both the hard copy and the audiobook from my local library. So if you're wanting to read it, make sure that you check your library. The hard copy's main benefit is that it has these illustrations by Alan Lee. See if I can find one for you here. So here's the first full color illustration in the book here. This is Húrin and her on the backs of eagles going to the hidden elf kingdom of Gondolin. And so there are really beautiful illustrations in here. There are pencil sketches at the beginning and end of almost every chapter, and then there are a number of these full color illustrations done throughout. So I'm not going to show them all to you, but definitely check out this book. Alan Lee, of course, is one of the best known Tolkien illustrators and concept artists, so he just does a fantastic job with the pictures in this book. So that is probably the main reason that I picked up the hard copy as well as listening to the audiobook, was to be able to see those illustrations. Another benefit of the hard copy is that in the back there's actually a list of all of the names that are mentioned in the book, and so that can be a really good reference for you to have, as well as in the very back of the book there's going to be a map for you to reference there. So it's always good to be able to have a map in any of Tolkien's works to kind of know where you are situated in Middle-earth. I can highly recommend this book to you, even if you've tried reading the Silmarillion before and it's been difficult for you.
I can't do this.
This book is a much easier read than actually reading the Silmarillion because Christopher Tolkien edited it in such a way as to make it flow like a story. And so you can just kind of read it chapter after chapter after chapter, which is not the case with all of Tolkien's posthumous published works. The thing that I really enjoyed about this book was just how expanded it was in different parts of the story. For example, there's a greatly expanded part about Turin's childhood, which really kind of helps to introduce you to him and the way that he starts out in life. He is, of course, such an epic and huge figure in Tolkien's mythology that it's good to see him as a child. There's another part about his time as an outlaw that is really greatly expanded and I think really helps you to understand his character better than you do in other versions of this story. And lastly, when he has his fight and ultimately kills Glaurung the dragon, that part is greatly expanded and is just one of the most epic battles and one of the really key parts in Tolkien's Legendarium, even so important that it gets a reference as early on as The Hobbit. So I can highly recommend this book to you. If you are a fan of reading Tolkien, I think you'll enjoy this book, even if you haven't been able to get through some of his other works, but just go into it knowing that it is a tragedy. Now I want to hear from you. Have you read The Children of Húrin? Have you tried to read it? What do you think of the story? How did you like it? Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, day shall come again.
Húrin cried aloud, Aure and Tuluva, days shall come again.